Borobudur True Back History Book. Part 4 is complete. The works of Santosaba. Created as a discourse to scientists based on academic studies and studies, it is not defaming ethnic races and religions, but in an effort to restore the true history of Indonesia. Indonesia Arya. By Santosaba. Exploration and Research. Complete info. WhatsApp to +62813 2132 9787. Jago Temple. The architecture of Candi Jago is arranged like a Pundan terraced terrace. The whole is 23.71 meters long, 14 meters wide and 9.97 meters high. The temple body is supported by 3 terraces. The front of the terrace protrudes and the body of the temple is located on the 3rd terrace. The roof and part of the temple body have been opened. The exact shape of the roof is not yet known, but there are allegations that the shape of the roof of Candi Jago resembles a Meru. On the outer wall of the temple base, reliefs of the stories of Kresnayana, Parthayana, Arjunawiwaha, Kunjarakarna, and Angalingdharma are carved. In the left corner of the temple, northwest, the beginning of an animal story is depicted as well as the story of Tantri. This story consists of several panels. While on the front wall of the temple there is a fable, there are 2 turtles that were flown by a goose in the way the turtle bit a stick of wood. On the 3rd terrace there is the story of Arjunawiwaha. We return to the existing claims about Manjushri, which is a description of the Buddhist bodhisattva or the viewpoint of Buddhism. This is not right based on the Manjushri statue which was originally placed on the Jago temple. The claim is not true. Kresna said, Arjuna is a word that is not found in Buddhism. The word is in Virakarita Epos Mahabharata and Ramayana, while the Kunjarakarna story, Angalingdharma, is the original story of the archipelago. Likewise, the symbol for fable in the form of goose and turtle is the original story of the archipelago. Let's see more about the Mahabharatab. The Sanskrit Mahabharata, Mahabharatam, is one of the 2 main Sanskrit epics as far back as ancient India, the other being the Ramayana. Traditionally, the writers of the Mahabharata are associated with Vyasa. There have been many attempts to uncover its history and development. Some studies reveal the oldest text is thought to be around 400 BC, although the origins of the epic may fall between the 8th and 9th centuries BC. This text may have reached its final form in the early Gupta period of the 4th century AD. The book's digest can be translated as the Great Tale of the Bharata Dynasty. According to the Mahabharata itself, this story is called only the Bharata from a short version of 24,000 verses. From the explanation of the Mahabharata, we can also understand that the depiction of the Manjushri statue which was originally placed in Jago temple cannot be concluded as Buddhism and Hinduism. This is confirmed by some studies reveal the oldest text is estimated to be around 400 BC, which at that time the 2 religions were still underdeveloped. In the explanation of the Manjushri inscription that circulated during this sentence, King Kartanagara in honor of his father, King Visunuwardhana, the complete sentence is like this: this temple was originally founded by order of King Kartanagara to honor his father, King Visunuwardhana, who died in 1268. Adityavarman built an additional temple and placed the Manjushri statue. Who is the name? How its history? Let's know a little. Visunuwardhana. Born. Unknown. Died. Singhasari 1268 was the king of the Tumapal kingdom, which was later known as the Singhasari kingdom. He ruled in 1248-1268 with the title Sri Jayavisunuwardhana Sangmapanji Semaningrat Sri Sakala Kalana Kulama Dumardana Kamalaksana, according to the Maribong inscription, 1248. In the book, the Nagarakretagama written in 1365 also mentions the existence of a joint government between Visunuwardhana and Narasingamurti, which is likened to Visnu and Indra. But the difference is, Visunuwardhana took the throne to replace Anusapati in 1248, not replacing Tojaya in 1250. According to the Mula Malyaring inscription, Visunuwardhana reunited the Tumapal kingdom with Kadiri after the death of Tojaya. This news was never mentioned in Pararatan or Nagarakretagama. It seems that after Kanarak's death there was a split that caused Kadiri to separate from Tumapal. The year of Visunuwardhana's death according to Pararatan is 1272, while according to Nagarakretagama it is 1270. Both texts mention that Visunuwardhana was enshrined at Walleri as Shiva and in Jajagu or Jago as Buddha. The explanation that Jago Temple is not a Buddhist temple has been explained above by the author. In the information about Wisnuwardhana in the Nagarakretagama book, it is stated that there is a joint government between Wisnuwardhana and Narasimhamurti who are likened to Wisnu and Indra. These two words Wisnu and Indra clearly do not display Buddhist teachings. This is emphasized by Wisnuwardhana is encoded in Walari as Shiva. We will examine the writing, review of the Manjushri inscriptions that have been circulating so far in words or sentences. The contents of this inscription are about the placement of a Manjushri statue by Adityavarman at the Jina shrine in the year 1265 aka. What is the name? How is the history? Let us know a little about it. Adityavarman is the king of Malayapura, the state in central Sumatra. She is a cousin, Jayanagara, king of Majapahit in 1309-1328, and grandson of Tribhuwanaraja, king of Raya Malayu. Adityavarman was awarded the senior minister of Majapahit Redamantri, and used this authority to launch Majapahit's military expansion plans and conquer the eastern coast of Sumatra. Adityavarman then founded the dynasty, the Minangkabau kingdom at Pagaruyung, and led the central Sumatra region to take control of the gold trade between 1347 and 1375. Adityavarman was born around 1294-1310 in Trowulan, East Java, the capital of the Majapahit kingdom, as recorded in a poem from Pararatan. According to Kabaraho, the inscription was found in Limo Kaum, West Sumatra. Adityavarman's mother was Darajinga, the daughter of Dharmasraya, and her father was Majapahit aristocrat Adwayavarman. According to George Codes, his name appeared in Java as early as 1343 in the image of Bodhisattva, Manjusri, which was originally located in Kandy Jago. This is the refuge Kirtanagara built for his father Visnuvardhana. In one of the various inscriptions about him, he explicitly calls himself Lord of the Golden Earth Kanakamedanindra. An inscription in local Sanskrit Malay found on the back of a statue of Amoghapasa found in Ramba, West Sumatra, dated 1347, was written, and possibly composed, by Adityavarman, to commemorate his role as protector and source of welfare for the people of the Malayan capital, Malayapura, and its power as the embodiment of Amoghapasa. 328, in Malayapura, Adityavarman received the royal title Udayadityavarman, or Adityavarmadaya, Pratapaparakramaragendra Malimalavarmadewa. Which scholars believe he can detect the synthesis of traditional royal titles used in Srivijaya and his Malay kingdom is believed to be the predecessor of present-day Minangkabau matrilineal society in Indonesia. The depiction of Adityavarman is displayed or depicted in the naming of the Bhairava statue at the Monas Museum in Jakarta. Let us know what Bhairava is. Bhairava, Sanskrit meaning terrible, is one of the deities in Hinduism, who are considered to be the manifestations of Lord Shiva associated with extermination. Bhairava comes from the same view on Hindu and Jain philosophy. He is worshipped all over India and Nepal. The origin of Bhairava can be traced to the conversation between Brahma and Vishnu as recounted in the Shiv Mahapuran. In it, Vishnu asked Brahma, who is the supreme creator of the universe? Brahma told Vishnu to worship him as the supreme creator. There are 8 types of these Bhairava. These 8 Bhairavas are said to represent the 5 elements viz. AKAs, air, fire, water and earth, and the other 3 are sun, moon and Atman. Each of these 8 Bhairavas are different in appearance, have different weapons, with the 8 kinds of wealth representing Ashtalakshmis. Continuous worship from Bhairava leads the devotee to a true guru. There are different mantras for all of these 8 Bhairava. It is generally believed that worshipping Bhairava brings prosperity, success and good offspring, prevents premature death and a solution to debts and obligations. The various forms of Bhairava traditions that develop only from Shiva are called Maha Bhairava. The depiction of the figure of Adityavarman as Bhairava represented on the statue clearly illustrates that Adityavarman does not adhere to Buddhist teachings. Let's try to observe. According to George Codes, an inscription in local Malay Sanskrit found behind a statue of Amoghapasa found in Ramba, West Sumatra, dated 1347, written, and possibly composed, by Adityavarman, to commemorate his role as protector and source of welfare for the people of the capital of Malaya, Malayapura, and his power as an embodiment of Amoghapasa. Amoghapasa inscription. Amoghapasa inscription is an inscription written on the back of Paduka Amoghapasa as referred to in Padang Rako inscription. In 1347, Adityavarman added this inscription on the back of the statue 232 stating that the statue was self-depicted. Today the inscription, kept at the National Museum of Indonesia in Jakarta with inventory number D198-6469, statue section. To learn more about it, we will look at the Padang Rako inscription. Padang Rako inscription. Fill in the inscription. The Padang Rako inscription is an inscription dated 1286 CE, found near the source of the Batanghari River, the Padangroko Temple Complex, Nagari Sigintur, Sitiung, Dharmasraya Regency, West Sumatra, Indonesia. The contents of the inscription is translated by Slamet Mulyana. 1. Rejoice. In Saka year 1208, in the month of Bhadrawada, the first day of the ascension of the month, Mawulu the day of wages, Thursday, Wuku Madangkungan, with the king's star located in the southwest. 2. The one at the statue of the Lord. Amogapasa Loksvara accompanied by all 14 followers and also the 7 pearls taken from the Javanese Bhumi to Swarnabhumi, so that they can be established in the Dharmasraya. 3. As a gift from Sri Wiswarupa Kumara. For that, my Lord Sri Maharahadaraja Kratanagara, the Dharmadingadewa Wikrama has ordered Rakrayan Maha Mantri Daya Adwaya Brahma, Rakrayan Sarikan Daya Sugata Brahma and 4. Samagat Payanan Han Dipankaradasa, Rakrayan Daman Pu Wira to serve Sir Amogapasa. May this gift make everyone from Bhumi Malayu, including those Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Sudras and especially the center of all Aryas, Lord Sari Maharaja. Srimit Tribhuwanaraja Maliwarmadua. The inscription is named after the location where it was found. Padang Rako, in the local language of Minangkabau, translates to field of sculpture. Padang means field, while Rako equates to statue or murti. Description: the inscription was found in 1911 near the source of the Batanghari River, Padangroko. The inscription was carved on the 4 sides of the stone in the shape of a rectangle served as the basis. Padang Rako inscription. Amogapasa statue on the inscription. Andesite stone material, made in 1208 Saka or 1286 AD, was found in Padangroko, Sigintur village, Sitiung district, Dharmasraya Regency, West Sumatra, Indonesia, 1911. Amogapasa statue. On the back side is carved a statuary inscription called the Amogapasa inscription, dated from a later period in 1347 CE, NBG 1911-129-20E. The inscriptions are carved in ancient Javanese characters, using 2 languages, Old Malay and Sanskrit, Crom 1912, 1916, Moens 1924, Dan Pidono 1966. Currently the inscription is kept at the National Museum of Indonesia, Jakarta, with the supply code numbers D198-6468, base or part inscription, and D198-6469, part of the statue. The origin of the inscription dates to 1208 Saka or 1286 AD, in the same period of the Singhasari Kingdom in Java and the Dharmasraya Malay Kingdom in Sumatra. The inscription says that in 1208 Saka, by order of Raja Kertanagara of Singhasari, the statue of Amogapasa Lokshvara was transported from Bhumijawa, Java, to Swarnabhumi, Sumatra, to be erected in Dharmasraya. This gift has made the people of Swarnabhumi rejoice, especially their king Tribhuwanaraja Maliwarmadua. In 1347 Adityavarman moved the statue further uphill to a site near the Longsot River, the source of the Batanghari River. He also added a written inscription on the back of the statue. This inscription refers to the Amogapasa inscription dated 1347 CE. While the rectangular base refers to the Padang Rako inscription in the Padang Rako area. We notice in the 4th stanza in the translation of the Prasasti Harapan. This gift makes everyone of the Malay Bhumi, including Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Sudras and especially the center of all Aryas, Your Majesty Sari Maharaja Srimit Tribhuwanaraja Maliwarmadua. The word Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Sudra, is not found in the Buddhist viewpoint. As this explanation, caste, the Buddha rejected the caste distinction of Brahmanical religion, offering the ordination of all irrespective of caste. Manjusrigra inscription. Manjusrigra Prasasti is an inscription dated 714 Saka, 792 AD, written in Old Malay with Old Javanese script. This inscription was found in 1960 on the right side of the entrance stairs. Siwu Purvara, guardian or smaller temple appendages, does not exist. 202 on the west side. 17 This inscription is related to Siwu Temple. According to this inscription, the original name of the Siwu Temple was probably Manjusrigra. Siwu Temple is located about 800 meters north of Prambanan Candi, Central Java, Indonesia. The inscription was engraved on a block of andesite stone measuring 71 centimeters by 42 centimeters by 29 centimeters. Transcription. Transcription according to the Central Java Cultural Heritage Conservation Agency. Sri Swasti Sakawarsadita 714 Kartika The period of Chestidasi Suklapaksa Sukrawara as Pon Tatkalanda Dan Nayaka in Ranada Lurawa Namanda Mawardi Din. Wajrasana Majusrigra Naman Prasada Svlkc, D. A. Madarsti Mamwasi, D. D. Dan Hyan Dasadisa W. D. Ida Yan Pranadananda Naras Samanta P. Kamal, Fa. Laku Marmangap God in Janmani Paratra Lai Kalpark Samua I. D. In the universe Sakarakara Sarwasatupajiwayaku Sarwasatweka Naya. K. A. Saru being Paratrat Sarwasatweka Wanda W. A. Pranadini Maha Tyanta Shradavega Samudgata Majusrigra Samumta Surwa Shri Sulawajana, Prasadeni Kumangap Ya Punyanda Shri Jananwara Iya Janma Paratraku Singer, Ya Nisaraka Dali B. Ribs Ajna Narendra Sana Purst. In Universe Traya Ajna. Nda Kujunju Nitya Din Jameni Paratra Lai Baran Karya Mahabara. Imua Susarathi Swam, Ekarya, Ka, Daksaku Samawida Kuparama N, Swami Bhakti Dur, D. Abhedya Falabhukti Anandita. Fala have a proof yes from Ajna Narswara Din Janmaga Tikakreni Swami Mua Parayana. The contents of the translation. Inscription written in 16 lines. Translated by Kusan. In the year 714 Saka, Kartika Bulan, 14th day Parodarang, Friday, Nas, Pon, Dang Nayaka Durandalurawa has completed renovation of an prasada called Vajrasana Manjusrigra. Satisfied with the hearts of those who work together. After Dang Hyang Dasadisa is finished in this noble endeavor. Many people from all directions come to admire this reverence building of the deceased and make their sacrifices. From all directions people attend. All beings, the inhabitants of Kanaya, all protected beings, all the villagers who contributing to this good endeavor seems very happy, satisfied, with the completion of Manjusrigra, the building with beautiful pinnacle. This prasada was conveyed by Srinarsvara who has manifested into the realm of gods died. All poor people, ignorant restless slaves, cannot understand the meaning of Narendra's order as a means, tool or vehicle of the world. I will always uphold Facebook until his death, as well as his works were seen by me as a good train driver. A wisdom reasoned work, my master's soothing thoughts, sir my attention is constantly like contaminated food. The fruit result of this noble deed was derived from Narsvara's guidance to humans, and my master's protection was extraordinary. We have known some of the terms in the Manjushri inscription from some of the explanations above, to add to the explanation to prove that the inscription which has been thought to underlie the claims so far about Borobudur that the Sailendra dynasty was the one that built in the 8th century AD was considered to be Buddhist or Hindu. Right. Let us have a look at the key word. Naras, Narsvara, Narsvara. Prasada Svlkc d not found in textual Sanskrit, is found in the Lemurian term, Savalja between, Kamunangaling Gusti. Narsing, Sanskrit. IAST, Narasimha, Flaming Lion Man. Narasingh, and Narasingha and Narasinghar in the Dravidian language, is an avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, who is considered to be the supreme deity in Vaishnavism and a more widely known deity in Hinduism. Narasingha is found in the early epic iconography. This belief extends over a millennium. Narasingha is often visualized as having a human body and a lower body, with the face of a lion and claws. This form is widely worshipped in the Deva form by a large number of Vaisnava groups. From the explanation of some of the texts listed on the Manjushrigra inscription clearly shows that the description of the text does not only exist in Buddhism and Hinduism, but the text is more directed at proving that The word Naras has existed for a long time in the archipelago that existed before the existence of Buddhism and Hinduism in India, even that philosophy which underlies the formation of the teachings of Buddhism and Hinduism. That is what European historians call Brahmanism, before the Veda was written down in India. That's the original Dharmak drawn in Borobudur, perfectly preserved in Bali. Studies on the Abhayagiri Vihara inscription. We will look at the information and explanation about the Abhayagiri Vihara inscription that has been circulating so far. The Abhayagiri Vihara inscription is an inscription dating from 792 AD which originated from the Medang Mataram kingdom era. This inscription mentions a character named Tejapurnapane Panamkarana or Rakai Panangkaran, 746 to 784 AD, who built a temple area on a hill called Abhayagiri Vihara, temple on a hill free from danger. Rakai Panangkaran resigned as king because he wanted spiritual calm and focused his thoughts on religious issues, one of which was by establishing a monastery called Abhayagiri Vihara in 792 AD. The inscription found in the Ratu Boko Hill area is associated with the existence of the Ratu Baka site. Also found statues of Durga, Ganesha and Yoni. Apparently, this complex was later converted into a palace equipped with a fortress for a vassal king named Rakai Waling Pu Kumbayoni. According to the Siwagra inscription, this place is called a stronghold consisting of a pile of hundreds of stones by Balaputra. The building on the hill was used as a stronghold in the battle for power at a later date. Inside the Ratu Baka complex there is a former gate, Paispan room, pond, pendopo, pringitan, keputran, and 2 cave niches for meditation. Not far around the Ratu Baka area, there are also temples found, including the Banyunabo temple on the southeast side of the hill and Sojiwan temple on the north side. In the writings that have been circulating so far, we find several key words, including Abhaya, Medang Mataram Kingdom, Rakai Panangkaran, Ratu Baka site, Siwagra inscription. We will observe these words one by one to prove whether they are true based on the Abhayagiri Vihara inscription of the Buddhist Sailendra Wangsa that built Borobudur in the 8th century. The word Abhaya or Abhaya textually we find in Abhayamudra, namely, courageous attitude, is a mudra attitude, which is a sign of assurance and security, which dispels fear and protection of gods or God to achieve happiness in many religions in India. This is illustrated. The right hand is upright, and the palm is facing outwards. Attitude. This position is one of the earliest found mudra processions depicted in a number of Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain teachings. In historical records so far regarding Hindu teachings, it has never been recorded that Hindu missionaries who came from India came and spread Hinduism to the archipelago. In the information above, we can understand that Abhaya is not only in Buddhism, but in the teachings of religious religions in India. This also implies that Abhaya existed before the teachings mentioned above existed, which were attitudes or ritual processions to achieve perfection. It can be said that this attitude is the attitude of Tapa, or Samadhi, the teachings of the previous archipelago ancestors. Another thing about proving this is not a cultural site is the Chinese record. Pay attention to. From the travel book of the Chinese pilgrim Fa Hien 399 to 414 AD, from the Chinese text by James Legge, which is translated and annotated by Korean recension in chapter 40. On a 2-year boat trip from and to China, he got a disaster on his sea voyage, anchored at Javadvipa from there back to China, arriving at Shantung then to Nanking. After walking in this way for more than 90 days, he came to a region called Javadvipa, where Brahmanism flourished, while the other views were not worthy of discussion. Fa Hien lived in Javadvipa for 2 years and managed to get a copy of the Vinaya Pitaka of the Mahisasaka Durgagama and the Samyuktagama Sutra, as well as the Samyukta Sanchaya Pitaka. All of these books were unknown in the land of Han. Having acquired these Sanskrit works, he returned to the ship of a large merchant, in which there were more than 200 people and with a smaller ship on board, to protect himself from the dangers of marine navigation. Wei Ning traveled for 3 years on the island of Java, 664 AD 667 AD, translating a sutra about the understanding of the great nirvana. This translation was assisted by a Javanese expert named Jnanabhadra, namely the science of life after death in the archipelago. This is called Svarga. The literary text of the word Svarga is in the bas-reliefs of the Borobudur building and is not written as Nirvana, Nibbana. What was seen and recorded by F.A. Huan 337-422 ad in Javadvipa. On the hill a great tower was erected 15 yojanas apart, 470 feet high, decorated with gold and silver, perfected with every precious substance. On the side of the tower is erected a Sangharama called Abhayagiri, containing 5,000 priests. The king ordered to make 9 tree supports, but the roots of the tree continued to penetrate the support and the roots came out up to 20. Through the earth, under the tree a chapel was built. In the center of this hall there was a statue, about 22 feet, the whole body glistens covered with 7 precious substances, in his right hand holds a pearl of priceless value. What F.A. Huan Pafa saw was called Mendet. Furthermore, in the royal capital there was a chapel of extraordinary construction, in which the 7 precious substances were used. The king purified himself according to the strict Brahmanic rules. The people of the city also respected this building, performed rituals. A long-standing belief, what F.A. Huan calls chapel, is now called Borobudur. In 399 to 414 AD, F.A. Heen, while traveling in Svarnadvipa, noted, following the river Po Nai, is the river Panai is Kampar, where the students used to live there and made movements. Walk in a circle around the tope stupa, as well as 4 teachers sitting in 4 corners. In this place the tower has been erected. What F.A. Huan calls Topan, Manara, today is called Muara Takas, and walking in a circle is Prasawiya Pradaksina, to waft. In this area the center of Dharmic teachings at called the Holy City, in the Kadachuan area before being called Srivijaya, whose seat of government is on the hill Katanka. Its track record is still in the mention of the surrounding area as Koto, which uses figures. Sangharama Mahaya Thupa Arya, Mahavahariya Para Thera Wana Kaka Phala, is a magnificent building with a great stupa, where to learn science and spiritual contemplation training for the Theras of the Kaka, Saka, Aryan ancestors of the previous Indonesian archipelago. This is not a Buddhist temple. So before 78 AD there was already an advanced civilization in the archipelago. The method of calculating the beginning of the Saka year is what makes our history lost or intentionally omitted. Mataram Medang Kingdom. The earliest record of the name Medang Raya Mataram is found in the Kangal inscription, dated 732, found inside the temple of Mount Wukir in Kangal village, southwest of Magalang city. This inscription, written in Sanskrit using the Palawa script, the Kangal inscription tells of the erection of a linga, Shiva symbol, on a hill in the Kunjarakunja area, located on a glorious island called Yawadwipa, Java, which is blessed with an abundance of rice and gold. The formation of the phallus was under the rule of Rakai Mataram Sang Ratu Sanjaya, Raja Sanjaya Rakai, Lord, from Mataram. This inscription indicates that Yawadwipa was ruled by King Sana, whose reign covered a large area with wisdom and virtue. After Sana died, the kingdom fell into disunity. Sanjaya, the son of Sanaha, Sana's younger brother, ascended the throne. He conquered the area around which apes ruled his kingdom, and a wise government blessed the land with peace and prosperity for all its people. The only foreign source mentioning Medang was found from the Philippine inscription, dated 822 Saka, 900. No comprehensive written record has survived in Java except for the number of inscriptions written on stone or copper plates. These inscriptions most often record political and religious events of the rulers. The most common theme mentioned in the inscriptions was the formation of the Sima, land tax-free for its inhabitants who took care of the sacred building, and sometimes some part or all of the taxes collected from this Sima land were designated to fund the construction and maintenance of religious buildings. Alleged by historians in the era of the Mataram Sultanate, around the 17th century, but there are also allegations that it may have come from an earlier period. There is no mention of a semi-mythological kingdom named Medang Kamulan, which in Javanese translates to Medang of origin, kingdom. This kingdom is mentioned in the myth of Dwi Sri and also Aji Saka. These may be remnants of the collective history of the original Javanese, which is thought to have escaped from an ancient kingdom called Medang. The basis for current historical records of Javanese civilization can be derived from findings, archaeological excavation, reconstruction and investigation of structures, ancient, especially temples, and also the discovery of ancient relics, such as those found in Wanaboyo. These original manuscripts mention the tales of kings, their history is mentioned in stone inscriptions. An important example of this manuscript is Karita Parayangan. Some of the sources of foreign records came from traders and tourists, especially from Chinese, Indian, and also Arabic sources. Initially, the kingdom was identified as written as Yawadvipa, Java Island, as referred to in the Kangal inscription. The inscription mentioned Rakai Mataram sang Ratu Sanjaya, King Sanjaya, Rakai, Lord, from Mataram. Previous historians such as Sokmano identified this kingdom as Mataram. This location is in the south of the plains of Mount Merapi in central Java, roughly close to Yogyakarta, Sleman and Bantul regencies. It is based in the location where a large number of temples are found in and around Prambanan. The name Medang appeared later in East Java inscriptions such as Anjukladang, 937, and Batu Minto inscription, 982, the Parada inscription and several other inscriptions found in Surabaya. This royal kingdom historians tend to identify the period of the East Java period, 929-1006, of this kingdom called Medang in contrast to the previous period of Central Java which was from Mataram, 732 to 929. On the inscription, Anjukladang states, "We Prasida Mangrakpa Kadatwan Rayang Ta I Emda I Bumi Mataram," shows that the name Emda, read, Mdang or Medang, was previously used in the Central Java period. The phrase, Emda I Bumi Mataram, means, Medang in the land of Mataram, which means the name of the kingdom is Medang with its capital in Mataram. The capital moved several times after Mataram, Sanjaya government, to Mamrati or Amrati, Rakai Paikatan government, Po Pitu, Balatung government. Daya Wawa government, Tamlang, Sindak government, Watugalu, Sindak government, and finally to W. Watan, Dharmawangsa Tega government. The name, Mataram, reappeared later in the 14th century as one of the Majapahit provinces. Then in the 16th century the Islamic Sultanate of Mataram emerged, which was located in the same area around Yogyakarta. As a kingdom called Old Mataram, it was different from the Islamic Mataram Sultanate. From the information above we can find the key words, the Kangal inscription, the phallus, the symbol of Shiva. Here we can understand from the text about Siwa, indicating that this is neither Buddhism nor Hinduism originating from India. This we can understand that in historical records it was never known that Hindu missionaries in India had previously come to the archipelago. Another thing about Medang. In Kadachuan 13 Kodo Kampar, Riau Province, Mathangkari, is a picture of the rays of the sun symbol with the government center, Katanka, with the symbol of 4 crosses recorded in the symbol of Su-Astika in Bali and sometimes displayed with the depiction of tortoises, time, crocodiles, bulls. This is what is meant by the area, Mathangkari, by Gajah Mata with the words, I will return to Mathangkari, at 13 Kodo Kampar. Is, Ma Odang, Medhang plus Kari, Ma Kawi Makawi, Shanghyang Dadu Gadong Makawi abbreviated, Medhang, the predecessor of ancient Mataram. This Datu, Madangkawi, led the pre-Islamic port of Baras, as the entrance for every ship that would enter and leave Svarnadvipa. The name, Baras, was derived from the frozen camphor wood resin which is currently called parmalan. Sima, tax-free land for residents who take care of sacred buildings. The word Sima is a word that is often found in several inscriptions, which in general it can be concluded that the inscription written the word is also the number of years and sometimes the name of the king is also written as a declaration of the king or ruler in the year written on the inscription. Is, a declaration of the king's declaration to take care of a sacred building, by rewarding him with the freedom to pay land tax to the village or residents of an area who take care of the sacred building. The number of years written on the inscription is not the number of years that states the construction of sacred buildings, which has often been misinterpreted. Study on the Kangal inscription. The Kangal inscription, also called the Gunung Wukir inscription or the Sanjaya inscription, is an inscription in the form of a Sengkala Kandra with the date 654 Saka found in the courtyard of the Gunung Wukir temple in Kadalui village, Salam subdistrict, Magalang, Central Java. The inscriptions written on this stone stela use the Pallawa script and Sanskrit. The inscription is seen as the self-declared King Sanjaya in 732 as a universal ruler of the ancient Mataram kingdom. This inscription tells about the erection of a phallus, the symbol of Shiva, in the village of Kunjarakunja by Sanjaya. It is also told that the first to become king was Sana, later replaced by Sanjaya son of Sanaha, Sana's sister. The free translation of the contents of the inscription is as follows. Verse 1. King Sanjaya's construction of a phallus on a mountain. Bait 2-6. Worship of Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Vishnu. Bait 7. The island of Java is very prosperous, rich in gold and many mines. Produce rice. On the island, a Shiva temple was built for the happiness of the people. With help from the residents of Kunjarakunjadesa. Bait 8-9. The island of Java, which was ruled by King Sana, who was very wise. Fair in his actions, officers in warfare, generous to his people. When the country died in mourning, it was sad to lose its protector. Bait 10-11. The successor of King Sana is his son named Sanjaya, which is likened. With the son, power was not immediately handed over to him by the king of Sana, but through her older sister, Sanaha. Verse 12. Prosperity, security and peace of the state. Folk can sleep on the way. Don't be afraid of thieves or it will happen. Other crimes. People live happily. Kunjarakunja Desa can mean the land of the Kunjara Hermitage, which is identified as the Hermitage of Resi Agastya. In the Ramayana epic, it is told that Rama, Sinta, and Laxmana visited Agastya's hermitage on Mount Kunjara. The explanation of the Medang kingdom and the information taken from the Kangal inscription clearly proves that the ruler of the kingdom was not Buddhist. Identical to Hinduism does not mean that this is Indian Hinduism. This we can emphasize and understand if we examine the history of the emergence of Hinduism in India and the naming of the original teachings of the archipelago, which must be called Hindu during the New Order era around 1970, also from the explanation of the Linga Pujan against Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Vishnu. Reinforce that the original teachings of the archipelago are not teachings from India. The author believes that the teachings that exist in the archipelago are the basis for the teachings that emerged in India to become called Hinduism or Buddhism and even other teachings besides these two teachings. Sojomerto inscription is an inscription found in Sojomerto village, Reban, Batang Regency, Central Java, Indonesia. Written in Old Malay using Kawi script, 7th century, on paleographic evidence, early 9th century. This inscription characterizes the teachings of Shiva. Contains a noble king named Dapunta Salendra, the son of Santanu and Bhadrawati, the husband of Sampula. Bohari speculates that Dapunta Salendra is the ancestor of the Sailendra house, which would later rule the Medang and Sriwijaya kingdoms. The inscription is carved on andesite stone 43 centimeters wide, 7 centimeters thick, and 78 centimeters long. The text consists of 11 lines. Some parts of the inscription are not clear because they have been eroded. Fill according to Bohari. 1. Raya Yan Kri Seda. 2. Koti. 3. Nama Sisavaya. 4. Bhattara Paramekva. 5. Ra Sarva Maideva Samvahaya. 6. Mi Insan is Udapu. 7. Nta Salendra Nama Santanu. 8. Namanda Bapanda Bhadravati. 9. Name Ayanda Sampula. 10. Namanda Vinanda Salendra Nama. 11. Mamagapasar Lempuanji. Praise Lord Shiva Bhattara Parameshvara and all the gods. From Honorable Dapunta Salendra. Santanu is the name of his father, Bhadrawati is the name of his mother, Sampula is the name of the wife. Salendra Mulia. This inscription concludes that the Dapunta Salendra family is in the north coast of Java. Tenga. Speak Old Malay and explain that they adhere to Shivaist teachings. The discovery of this inscription has led to the development of a theory proposing the origin of the Sumatran Sailendras, as well as with the possible establishment of their initial kingdom on the north coast of central Java before moving into the interior of the Kedu area. Just like the Sojomerto inscription, several inscriptions referring to the name Sailendra were found in central Java, which were also written in Old Malay instead of Old Javanese, indicating a relationship between Java and Sumatra. The name, Sailendra, mentioned in this inscription is Dapunta Sailendra, which is considered the ancestor of Sailendras. The name, Dapunta, is the same as Sriwijaya Raja Dapunta Hyang. There is a connection between Sriwijaya and the Sailendra family. This dynasty first settled in central Java, the north coast around Batang and Pekalongan Regency. They adhered to Shaivaist teachings. At some point in time they moved south and formed a kingdom in the Kedu area, and then perhaps these Shaivaist teachings were converted to Mahayana Buddhism. Other interpretations suggest that this dynasty may have been a native Javanese family, but had Srivijaya connections. This ruling family may have been local rulers but was somehow subdued by Srivijaya through invasion and later as followers of Srivijaya. Early Sailendra probably belonged to the Srivijaya Mandala sphere of influence. It is known from the Kota Kapur inscription, 686 CE, that Sriwijaya launched a series of military campaigns against Bumi Jawa, which also corresponds to the fall of Tarumanagara Kingdom in West Java. Another thing about Sriwijaya. In the pre-Srivijaya era, the pre-Islamic leadership was led by the name Kandra Nago. There is a tribe, apart from the main Soko from this. The son, Tumenging, has a daughter who is married to a clever named Perpatia, then has a daughter in the family system, matrilineal names, Malay, Muni, Jambik, and the youngest named Pito, or Dwi Pito. During the Adityawarman era, the period after the colonization, Chola, was formed as tribalism. On the male side it was called Dachuik Pata, on the wife's side it was called Badi Kaniago, and her four younger sisters became the name of the tribe. 1. Malay becomes Malayu. 2. Muni becomes Munaliang. 3. Pito becomes Pitopang. 4. Watch, fixed. The tribes above did not exist in the pre-Islamic period. The mention of Domo at that time was the name for the Aryan Rshi, Brahmin. The designation Patopang is the supporters or Pertapa Domo. Piliang is what protects the Pilihan Hyang. The word Hyang is the mention of God before Islam. This does not mean Hindu Buddhist Pilihan Hyang, which fortified Domo, while Malayu were the advisors. This designation existed after 7th century AD Islam. Pre-Islamic designation in called Malam, or advisors. They split up in several areas called Para Malam. When the Kadachuan with the holy city and the center of the puja underwent an attack by Kola attacking the Gasab area, Siak and the family of the brother of Puti Inda Jelito were rescued to Sebayang, Selan, Sigangi by Dadu Sati, now in the form of a sultanate. The people of which lived this is actually the tribe whose initial name was Manda Ialang. Mandala, or the form of government of the people who lost their leadership or the top of their customs, because Manda Ialang was left to become Manda Leong, which is read and spoken sometimes becomes Manda Iliong, Manda Iliong, Manda Ilang. The pre-Islamic Kadachuan region is the holy city, headed by the name Kandra Nago. This word has been recorded as the name of the Kaniago tribe. Kadachuan, his area was called Naghori, with the language Nagori Nagari, the mother of the national international language at that time, Sanskrit, with its center of poetry, Mongtakui, and its seat of government on the hill, Katanka, in its territory at a radius of 75 kilometers, which are now called Kodo, which uses numbers, namely filled circle 13 Kodo, Kampar, filled circle 5 Kodo, filled circle Tapung 6 Kodo, filled circle Subayang 12 Kodo, filled circle Chalk 9, filled circle Base 6 Kodo, filled circle Galugu 6 Kodo, filled circle Rokan 4 Kodo, filled circle Rajo 5 Silo, Andiko 44. In the 11th century there was a colonial attack. The Sultanate family was rescued, divided into 14 groups, and 12 groups were rescued to the other 13 Kodo Kampar imperial families to Gasab, to 5 Kodo water Tiras. Then in the 15th century AD it became the Sultanate. This is when the word Malayu was published, and formed tribes, among them the Bendong tribe. The Malay tribe is different from the Malayu tribe, the tribe that was formed in the Kadris after converting to Islam by Adityawarman, which is the 4 tribes formed, and the last is the new Malayu. Four main terms. 1. Domo. 2. Piliang. 3. Patapang. 4. Body. 5. Malayu. The Malay tribe, or the term, Malayu, existed during the Portuguese era, when the colonialists ganged up on Sultan Malika Saleh in Johor to become the Kingdom of Malacca, after he converted to Islam, which was saved by the Kadachuan family before three waves or three rescues, namely 1. In the 7th century 40th century, this is what is called Malayu Tuo. 2. In the 15th century 11th century, this was what was called Malayu Tonga. 3. In the 16th century 39, this was what was called Malayu Mudo. Malay, Malayu, Bukan Melayu, became transformed into Malay in the 16th to 69th century by colonialists. The tribal formation chaired by Datuk Patia, or Datuk Nan Sabatang, and Datuk Mengging, in Kodo Batu, Pasumayam Batakam Stone, Periangan Flat Land of Merapi Sumbar today. At the Aditya Warman Cadet, after coming home from the density in the Batakam Rock, there was another density on the hill of Malam with Dadu Gadong Chinchin, which was attended by 44 other Dadu people. It was at this time that the chanting of Andiko 44, and the top leadership was called Niniak Dachuak Raho. Dubalai, after that they returned to each Nagari including 13 Kodo, Rokan, Galugar, Tapung, Limo Kodo, Talak, Pangkalan. The concept of Malay custom, the sons of Baraja Ka Datuk, Datuk to the Pengulu to the Mufakat to the truth stands alone. The traditional concept of Minang, in Sumbar, grandchildren go to Ninik Mamak, Bagadang Ka Pengulu Bagadang Ka Kabanaran attend his sands. The concept of the custom, Andiko, in Kadachuan 13 Kodo Kampar. Niniak Mamak Waadat, Sakulik, Sakane Sabadan, Malam Sakatib, Dubalang Sakudorag, or in other terms, Talago Kabanaran has Niniak Dachuak Dubalai, Andiko Satalago, Pangulu Sa Andiko, Ninik Sa Pangulu, Mamak Sa Ninik Mamak, grandchildren tanned. In determining the leadership, top of the Kadachuan Adat, which is now called Andiko, is prioritized from the four main tribes. Example. If the Domo tribe cannot be present to fill the leadership position, then it is taken from the Malayu tribe. For example, this Malay tribe must be from the absolute, basic Malay tribe. This is the descendant of the family from the mother. Si Ampu, in the Kadachuan named Shanghyang Dui Pudi Tuo, dynasty from the dynasty Kandra Nago, in the pre-Islamic parade government called World Indra, is not from Malay who belong to the group. 1. Malayu Tuo. 2. Malayu Tonga. 3. Malayu Mudo. 4. Malayu Tolang. 4 Malayu above is a breed from the Pamalayu family in Java which was saved by a Kadri, one of which became a group or royal kingdom named Raja Malaikasale, in Johor which is now called Malacca. Puchak Naghori Puchak Andiko, Puchak Nan Ampik is called Pukuk. Ampik Angles are 4 main tribes that become the top of the country. This is called Niniak, or Kadachuan leader. The 4 corners of Naghori, the 4 colors, represent the 4 main tribes. 1. Domo. 2. Piliang. 3. Patapang. 4. Body. 5. Malayu. At this time, the Domo tribe has only been detected. There are 3 of them that have just been written that can only be found out. 1. Domo Gadong. 2. Domo Length. 3. Domo Kaniago. Malay, Malayu, Bukan Melayu, became transformed into Malay in the 16th to 69th century by colonialists. The origin of the naming of the Patapang tribe in pre-Islamic times was Pa Tapa. Per Tapa got an additional suffix ang to become Pa Tapa Ang, Patapang, which later was this word which was formed into the name of the Patapang tribe in the 7th century. 40. Then in the 10th century 10 years in Indrapuro it is now called Minang in the tribal form, Pitapang. Then in the 13th century 36th after the colonization of Kola by Aditya Warman there was another tribal formation to return it to change its name to the Pitopang tribe. For the main tribes of the Hingi are now divided into 78 tribes, and in each tribe there is the term Sejo Ratu, namely the husbands of the eldest tribal husbands of one person. In this traditional event it appears that Sejo Ratu sits in a group with the mothers. The period of division of the designation, Central Sumatra, with the colonization of the regions into 3 provinces in 1957-58. 1. Sumbar call itself Minangkabau, centered on the stone cage. 2. Jambi calling himself Malay. 3. Riau call themselves Malay, the island area of Penyangat Island, mainland around Siak. 4. Malaysia, calling yourself Malay. Arya, are the Kaka people of the archipelago, written on the bas-relief of Wana Kaka Fala, Borobudur with the literary text of the word Maachakya, nation Kakya, Sakya, Saka, Aryan the Great, called Shaitya by European historians. The Kaka existed far earlier than 78 AD from the time of conquering the Salivahana, king of India. This 78 AD figure is misinterpreted to calculate the beginning of the Saka year on the inscription, until our history is lost before that year. Aryans are the Kaka or Saka of the archipelago, not Iranian Arabic or Indian. The Persians gave this name as Saka and the Greeks as Skythai. The Chinese called them, at a later stage in history, Sai. There are 12 words, Svarga, in the bas-reliefs of Borobudur, not written words. Nirvana, or Jana, and the literacy of the word, heaven, is the pronunciation that is familiar to the people of the archipelago. This proves that the language and teachings that underlie it are native to us, the Indonesian archipelago. The literacy of the word, Svarga, or heaven, is not from Arabic, Indian or Malay. The understanding of the word, Malayu, must be perfected, that the word Saka or Soko is still perfectly recorded in the customary system in Kadachuan before and after being called Srivijaya. This is not in Palembang, which was published as the center of earlier Buddhist teachings. When and who was the Indian missionary preacher to the archipelago, until the sites of the pre-Islamic kingdoms were called Hindu Buddhist? There is no answer, it is just colonial labeling to obscure history. Study on the Kayumvungan inscription. The name Samaratunga is found in the Kayumvungan inscription or the Karang Tenga inscription issued on May 26, 824. In the inscription it is stated that Samaratunga had a daughter named Pramodawardhani who inaugurated a very beautiful Jinalaya. This inscription is considered to be associated with the construction of Borobudur. Is it not true? Let's take a closer look. The Kayumvungan inscription consists of 2 parts. The first part is in Sanskrit as mentioned above, while the second part is in Old Javanese language issued by Rakai Padapan Mpu Pilar. It is said that the Mpu Pilar figure has awarded several villages as Sima Swatantra to participate in caring for sacred buildings, with the term Jinalaya to describe his policy. Kayumvungan inscription. The Kayumvungan inscription is an inscription on 5 pieces of stone found in Karangtenga hamlet, Temanggung Regency, Central Java, so it is also known as the Karangtenga inscription. This inscription is written in Old Javanese script, using 2 languages. Lines 1 to 24 are written in Sanskrit, the next lines are written in Old Javanese. Each language refers to the year 746 Saka. Contents. The contents of the writing in the Sanskrit part are about a king named Samaratunga. His son Pramodawardhani built the sacred Jinalaya building as well as a building called Wenuwana, Sanskrit. Venuvana, meaning bamboo forest, to place the ashes of the Mega King, the name for Lord Indra. Dharanindra from the Sailendra family. The Old Javanese part states that on 10 Kresnapaksa month Jayestha in 746 Saka inaugurated the land or rice fields in Kayumvungan. Become land of Sima or Perdikan land, tax-free area. Kasparas associated the Wenuwana building with the Mendit building, while Sokmano associated it with the sacred Nawan building on the basis of the sound equation of the name. Meanwhile, the building called Jinalaya is thought to refer to the king's policy or declaration for the maintenance policy of Borobudur buildings. Studies on the Ligar inscription. This inscription is found in Amarat, southern Thailand, the Malay Peninsula. This inscription is written and carved on 2 sides. The first part is called the Ligura inscription, or also known as the Viong Sa inscription, while on the other side it is called the Ligur B inscription, which is written in Kawi script dated 775 CE. The Ligur B inscription was probably written by Maharaja Daya Pankapana Karyana Panamkarana, king of the Shailendra dynasty. This inscription is connected to the Srivijaya kingdom and the Shailendra dynasty. This Ligura inscription tells of a Srivijaya king named Dharmasetu, a world-renowned king, who built the Trisamaya Kaitya for Kajara. While the Ligur B inscription, dated 775 CE, written in Kawi script, contains information about a king named Visanu who held the title Sri Maharaja, from Sailendravamsa praised as Sesavaramadhavimatana, assassin of arrogant enemies without any trace. There are several different interpretations of the king mentioned in the Ligur B inscription. There are some assumptions that the king mentioned in this inscription is Raja Panankaran, while others argue that it was his successor, Raja Dharanendra. In this inscription we can understand that there is nothing that explains and confirms that the Sailendra house adheres to Buddhist teachings. From the mention of the king as the title Visanu we can conclude that Sailendra does not adhere to Buddhist teachings. Even the mention of Visanu does not mean that Sailendra adheres to Hindu teachings. True Hindu Buddha was born in India. An incorrect cites in the archipelago based on Hindu Buddha who were born in India. But the teachings described in Borobudur were the basis for the birth of teachings in India. Borobudur True Back History Book. Part 4 is complete. The works of Santosaba. Created as a discourse to scientists based on academic studies and studies, it is not defaming ethnic races and religions, but in an effort to restore the true history of Indonesia. Indonesian Arya. By Santosaba. Exploration and Research. Complete info. WhatsApp to +62813 2132 9787.